Are you somebody with a lot on your plate? Or do you suck at asking for help with all the stuff on your plate? Or does your back just hurt? You could be the 10 of wands or rods. Hi, party people. It's me, Taylor Ellis, the creator of the Ellis Deck Tarot and the Tarot of the Starbound Phantasia. And you know it, we are talking today about the 10 of rods. This was one that was suggested by one of my viewers, and I always invite you to do that down in the comments below. I'm kind of doing these as I feel like them, or if somebody says, hey, I don't know anything about the 11 of waffles. Can you talk to me about the 11 of waffles? I'm happy to jump in there and see how I drew waffles in one deck versus another deck and tell you why I did it. And that's how I make these videos. So, comment down below if that's something you'd like to do. But other than that, let's get cracking. Starting today, we're going to talk about the elements for those cards, and that's fire. The wand suit is fire. I like to think of that as like a wand is magical. Fire is almost like the first magic trick that people knew. To have a whole suit and have the element be the same for that whole suit, that's you kind of have to think about the quantity of that element in the particular card to discuss the nature of it and what fire means for the Ten of Wands. Um, think about too much fire. Think about something like breaching containment, like a belief that's about to catch on, something catching fire. The nine is a lot of times seen as like the completion, and then the 10 is seen as like completion plus one or completion plus what's next or new game plus or something like that. And that's like it could also be lots of fuel for the fire, like the 10 of wands. You could be, carrying logs, but mostly with the tens, I do think of it as like too much and like spreading over. And any of the tens in the tarot, I've started to kind of, when I do a reading, I think of that as okay, this is like when this is something getting kind of out of hand. This wasn't the first time with the I Ching that this happened, but this was something that I kind of wanted to bring up because I do look at a few different sources for the I Ching with Tarot Correspondences. One of them is 777, Aleister Crowley's book. One of them is, I sometimes refer to Benabel Wynn. She has a entry on her website that actually more corresponds trigrams than hexagrams to tarot cards. And then there's a website that I love. It looks like it was made in the 90s, but I still think it's full of great information. And I usually put the link to that down below. But the thing about the I Ching and the tarot is that it's more of a discussion than a science. It's the I Ching has 64 hexagrams, and the tarot has 78 cards. So obviously, that's a lot of times kind of a square peg in a round hole, and some stuff doesn't quite fit in. But both of them are kind of basically an attempt to apply a matrix or a grid on top of our reality and help you sort of navigate the situation that you're in. And so for this one, that being said, I kind of wanted to talk about two different trigrams. And the first one is revolution, which is lake over fire. And that is 49 in the I Ching. And so the basic idea of revolution, if I can kind of like dumb it down, or give you like the Brian Brown Walker, is like a situation is about to give way to another one, and he says that is for a more beneficial. I know that that's up for debate depending on what translation you're reading, but I want to think of it like this. Okay, so lake is like joy. It's a gathering. the water has all kind of gathered in this one spot. Or like, what do people do when they go to a lake aside from make you listen to Sweet Home Alabama, whether you want to or not, and everybody is just having a great time on their boats? And then what is fire doing? It's burning. It's ruminating. It's brooding. And so you could think of it like people have like a victory, and they win, and they're all celebrating, and they kind of, they sort of get lax, and their opponents are like, well, we got a lot of work to do. And so while one side is really like partying and really celebrating their victory, the other side is how can we grow from this? What do we do? What are we doing here? And they sort of get their act together. And then the turning the wheel happens, the revolution happens, and the lake is caught off guard. Here comes the fire. And that's not awesome for the lake, but it works for the fire guys. The other trigram that goes along with the Ten of Wands is 54. And that one is called the Marrying Maiden. And it also has the lake in it, but the lake is in another spot. The lake is actually the lower trigram. So you have thunder on top and lake on the bottom. So think about like um, somebody that wants to have fun and party and all that, and then they've got their oldest sibling is on top of them. So Lake is actually like the youngest sister in the I Ching family, and then Thunder is like the oldest brother. And so that's kind of like, oh, it's time to be serious. It's like, I don't want to be serious. Or it's almost like you just don't have any influence over the situation that you're going through, and you can't really make a quick change. In fact, the hexagram itself warns against it. It's like, a couple of translations equate it to rushing on ice. Like, you're going to embarrass yourself. You've cultivated, you put all the work into this thing, and just because you're wanting to see it kind of come to an end or to a conclusion, and you're trying to rush it, you're not gonna really get what you want. You might end up having a bunch of wasted effort as a result. And a lot of times it's like tempting to abandon the situationship you're in, but it's the relief in this form isn't going to help you with the goals you have in mind. A lot of the time it is like you're trying to rush a conclusion in something that requires time as an ingredient. Like you are having to yield to the order of events, which is why this card does represent a great burden, because it's like you would love nothing more than to just get rid of all this stuff on your back, but you can't do it. You either everybody's depending on you, or you have there's the idea of sunk cost fallacy, and like, oh well, just because you spent a lot of time on something doesn't mean that you have to stick with it. But this card sometimes implies that it sort of needs to be stuck with. You just probably need to get better about asking for help with it, or figuring out what other people can do for you in the situation to kind of relieve the burden a little bit. Hey, it's your friend almost done with the video, Taylor. And I forgot about the third I Ching that I was going to talk about, which is Water Over Lake, number 60 in the I Ching, and it is known as Limitation. And I think that this might be the most important of all the I Chings I was going to bring up today. So first off, think about what's a lake with water on top of it. It's like a flood. It's like, we're going to talk about this later. I know because I've already talked about it, but it's about the too muchery of this card. That there's too much going on. The lake is flooded. When a lake floods, they usually close it. You can't go party. And the idea of limitation is that we kind of have to have like rules and guidelines for ourselves, and they're important in a time like the Ten of Wands, like, because when you were really stressed out, the thing that might anchor you is the goal you have in mind. You have to go, well, what am I doing all this for? Because that's got to ultimately be how you lock back in and focus your energy. But the other thing about limitation is that limitations need limitations as well. And if you are in this card, it is the, like we probably say at another part of this video, bestie, I am at my limit. And it's important to recognize when you are at that limit, because when you overdo it, that's when you burn out, or you have a revolt on your hands. There was a guy yesterday in the news, warehouse worker burned down a whole warehouse. He was like, if you guys had just taken a little bit better care of us, this probably wouldn't have happened. And it's the human element of the whole thing. We're people. We can set up rules for ourselves to follow, and that's important. But at the end of the day, we're not computer programs. We are not robots. And that's, you got to realize when enough is enough. So yeah, lake is closed. And lastly, before we look at the cards, a little astrology. So Ten of Wands, think of Saturn in Sagittarius. So Saturn is, there's dad, there's the boss, there's all the rules. And then Sagittarius is the free spirit, the, like, your house is burning down, and your friend is like, sorry, I got to do this for me, and they're off to the Bahamas or whatever. But it's like, it could be an oppressive belief. It could be like responsibility versus enjoyment, and kind of that dichotomy of like a reality sandwich, almost like the your beliefs are under like great pressure, and it's almost like seeing your idealism put to the test, and maybe like your ideals got you to this point, where you have cultivated these 10 rods, these 10 wands, which are all like, each took a lot of time and care and things like that, and maybe you had these guiding principles that got you there. But now you're at the point where other forces are really pushing on you, and you don't know what the next step is supposed to be, and you're like, man, the my rabid optimism got me to here, but it is not helping with the burden. And so it's Sagittarius just doesn't like it when Saturn's hanging around. I would say it that way. It's kind of like, it's one of those like record stop moments, and everybody has to, maybe you had like a fun office, and you had a cool manager at work, and everybody, it was, wear whatever you want, and we listen to music while we work, and if you get all your stuff done, you can go home. And then that boss, they go off, they elevate to bigger and better things, or they retire or something like that, and corporate brings in the person who's ready to make a name for themselves by going by the book and things like that. And suddenly, we got fluorescent lights again, everybody's got to tuck their shirt in, no music, and you get here at 8 and you leave at 6 or something like that. Party's over. And we'll get started with our Ellis deck tarot, 10 of rods. And here we go. Starting with the background, you'll notice that there's blue clouds on a white sky. That's kind of the inversion of what we're used to here on planet Earth, but I wanted that to sort of be, this environment is presented as like a realm of like fae folk, like magical folk. They see things differently. The creative world sees things differently, and I don't remember the origin, but I remember this quote that said, "Artists paint skies red because they know that it's blue. The rest of us have to paint the sky blue, or everyone will think that we're idiots." And so they kind of get to live, these people that with their kind of, I don't know, magical ways, but I always think of like the creative people just looking at the world differently, and so we just sort of inverted the colors of the sky. in that sense. But if we go to the background and we see that there's this big purple, almost eggplant shaped mountain back there. And so that's like, it's a spiritual goal, or it's like we've reached the point of our journey, our spiritual journey, where it's about to get real, it's about to get hard. We're going to see what we're made of here. And it doesn't look like you can scale it. I mean, it's smooth, but there's this grass on top. There's like this lushy patch of grass, and that's like our resting place, but it's out of reach. And if we see our character, they look like somebody that could use a rest. They've got their clothing is made out of leaves like the rest of the characters in this suit, but theirs are kind of they're old leaves, they're brown, they're hardened, and it's like the time for like the flashiness is almost gone. It's like the I don't know, maybe the artist that really has to, get to work, and they're just, throwing the same hoodie on they wear every single day, and doing their stuff. They're not really like out, they're not out to show off. They've done the showing off, and they're at the point where they're having to put the money where their mouth is almost, or it's just, they've almost matured past that like time for flashiness. And they have this little purple bloom though that's growing on top, that does have some color to it, and that's like the crown chakra is open, it's receptive to the creative. So it's like, while maybe on the outside they're not like a bright and beautiful bird, something creative is still blooming on the inside. It may not This may not be a time where it really gets to express itself much more beyond that. And they're using one of the rods as a cane, and so they are still guided by those spiritual principles like we were talking about, like with Saturn in Sagittarius, and like maybe your belief system is coming into question because of the difficulties you're facing, but this one is still very much relying on it. They still have it there. And we see that they've got 9 rods on their back. That's where they're carrying these guys, and we see the roots still attach. So it's like these ideas, this project, whatever this is, these people that depend on us, they've all been uprooted, and it's up to this character to kind of find their new home, find where they go, see if those roots will take on top of that little lushy patch of grass on top of the mountain, if that's going to be the new grove. Um, but I mean, that also kind of implies a time limit. Like these rods are living things. They've got to get where they're going. This is another one of those cards. Like we go back to something like the Two of Pentacles, where it's like this is not a forever situation. This has got a time limit on it, based, if nothing else, on it's like the limitation of everybody involved. Everyone's got their limits. And if we look at the gray foxtail that is right there in clear view, we see that, like the other characters in this suit, they do have like a fox companion, and this kind of took after like the kitsune, or like the fox spirits of like Asian folklore. And they would grow tails, they would grow multiple tails as they grew older and became more powerful. But this one is at a point where it itself is powerful enough that it does not need to display that power, and in fact considers displaying that power almost like putting a target on its back. So it is presented as an old gray fox. And again, this is, I think that there's a lot of energy in the Ten of Wands, and usually whoever is in a Ten of Wands situation is kind of quite the badass. Like they had to be to get to this point where were trusted with all this stuff. But a lot of times, what that means is that they don't feel like they need to prove it to anybody at this point. They don't have to present themselves in such a way, or they may not even feel like they have time to put themselves together in quite that way. So you are getting them in the my actions are going to speak much louder than my jacket. All right, so It's time for the Starbound Phantasia. And we'll start with the background again. My choice for the magenta color on this one was because I consider the wands to be a very creative suit. And magenta is a color that, for me, gets the creative juices flowing. To me, it's almost like if you're going through the spectrum of colors, and if you started like the root chakra is red and you go all the way up to the crown chakra, it's this violet color, but it's like this continuing band, and sort of between the violet and the red. To me that's almost like where magenta would show itself. And so you have both the lofty spiritual, the receptive creative of the violet of the crown chakra, and then you have the blending into the grounded, the doing the work, the root. And so to me, that is literally like what the wand is. And in fact, that's kind of how I presented it, with how the wands are depicted in this suit, where the usually the staff, the wand itself is usually something like man-made. In this one, they have like this stake-like bottom, like they're meant to be stuck down in the ground, and then they have like this orb with a crown on top, and that's like the crown is like the nobility of creativity. And so it's being exalted, it's being like, oh, truly the creative is the noblest of abilities. um and then with it is the gift of knowledge, represented by this serpent, and each of these wands has its own individual serpent. So the wand itself is this human made object, and it's like human work combined with knowledge, combined with creativity, is how we wield our magic. Which is awesome when there's not 10 of them, which leads to the situation we're looking at in this card. There's 10 wands. It's too much. They are kind of haphazardly like built like this, almost like a structure that's like coming down, if not for the black peacock, the black phoenix that is right there in the middle of the card. And so this was a reference to the image of the black pelican, which is like an ancient myth. I think you can find it in like a lot of like Eucharist imagery, which was a symbol of like a pelican wounding itself to feed its young. And that was meant to symbolize like the feeding of the body and blood of Christ to followers, which is a good symbol of like protecting your followers, or protecting those who are dependent on you from burden, the burden of nourishment. And here they are. We have the two little white peacock chicks that are there, like baby phoenixes, and they're nourishing themselves, and they're almost oblivious to everything that this phoenix is going through to kind of protect them. This phoenix is almost at the state where they will burn, and then they will reincarnate as their new self. All of this will collapse. It's almost like they are making sure that the chicks have enough nourishment to get away. And if we look down at the bottom of the card, we see this kind of other aspect of the nourishment as well. We see these mushrooms, these little purple capped mushrooms. Which are the reproductive part of the organism. But most of it is a root network that's underneath, which would be the thing that survives the flames. But obviously, these they're ready to release these spores. The roots underneath would survive this fire as well. It's like there's this preparation going on to make sure that all of this knowledge, all of this care and stuff is passed on to the next generation. But it is the burden of who is in charge at this moment in time, and their efforts to kind of shield the vulnerable from what they are having to go through themselves, so that they can grow up big and strong, and perpetuate that suffering, I guess. And yeah, there you have it. Starbound Fantasia, 10 of Wands. Sometimes we're just stuck doing what we're doing. I've been drawing a comic for over 10 years now. And when I started it, I thought it was going to be, 90 pages and done. Once I got going on it, I realized it was a much bigger idea than I had originally started, and that I would not be happy with myself if I did not complete it. I'm just going to go off personal things because I'm not going to tell you what to do with your life. For me, the Ten of Wands is like you push back, you throw it down, you ask for help, or you determine where the finishing line is. But one of those four things is going to happen when you're under that much pressure. For me, the first time I threw it down, I was like, I'm not going to do this anymore. I spent 2 years doing other part time jobs, doing other things, and realized that there's worse things in life than having a big comic book to draw. Um, now I, work with my partner, my wife, and, I throw ideas off of her. She helps me with the words for the book, and it's a lot of fun. It's nice to have somebody in that creative journey with me. So I did find the way to ask for help. I've drawn the finishing line. I've said, hey, this is what needs to happen for it to get done, and that's where we're headed. And because there's no boss for me to push it back on, I put this on myself. So if anything, I pushed it back on myself and said, okay, big boy, finish your book. But those are kind of the four things that you can do when you get the Ten of Wands. If you made it this far into the video, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. I'd love it if you hit like or subscribe. It costs nothing. I always say this, I cannot stress that, how much that helps the channel. So if you'd like me to keep doing this, awesome. If you don't want me to keep doing this, suck it. But other than that, thank you so much for watching. Happy reading.